Greetings my friends, that's not new content, but it is the same old content scaled up for level 65. Welcome to Brontes Hard Mode, final boss of Dread Fortress operation. This is a pug, however it's not a normal pug because we're using TeamSpeak and I don't know most of the guys, but apparently they do know each other, or maybe they play with each other together from this pug. I don't know, never mind. The fact was that the team wasn't completely new. Everybody knew the tactics, everybody had probably killed the boss multiple times before. For myself personally, I haven't done hard mode Dread Fortress overall and Brontes specifically in more than 1 year, maybe I don't know, 1.5 years. I can't really remember anymore, but it was really a long time ago and I didn't remember most of the differences compared to Nightmare. I've discovered them during the run. Apparently it's a lot easier. I would personally compare the mechanics more closely to the story mode in terms of challenge compared to the Nightmare. In the end of the video I will have a link for you guys to check out my very first Brontes kill with the buff Nightmare mode at level 55. This is the toughest Brontes I've ever faced and anybody has ever faced. At level 60 I never had a chance to kill her. But anyway, let's talk about tactics because this is entitled Simple Guide video or something like that. I'm on the right side of the team and therefore I'm hitting the right hand's tentacle. They are named, so you should very clearly see them, or if you don't want to read, you should probably orient yourself with the marks that usually the team leaders would put on the tentacles. Fingers, sorry. It's not necessary, but sometimes you can switch between left and right depending on the balance of them both. The ideal version is where both of them will drop and respawn at the very same time, or in amount of 5-6 seconds, because every time the tentacles go down, the tanks need to switch targets. And every time we delay one of the tentacles dropping down and respawning, we create a little bit of chaos. Only 3 pairs of these little fingers, or was it 4 pairs? I didn't really count. You can reverse the video and check it again. A lot easier. We are not even slower because that's hard mode. Although it's ideal to everybody to move together. Dealing with Brontes in hard mode in this phase seems to be exactly the same as before. The one difference is that Kefes died a lot quicker and a lot easier. I don't know if it has something to do with gear or probably because this is hard mode, not Nightmare. However, everything is scaled up and you will see what I mean when you reach the end of the video. The scale up is interesting. We were asked as melee DPS to go join on Kefes because sometimes the groups do that, sometimes the groups don't, depending on the range DPS, their mood and their burst capacity. In our case we were asked to go as melee on Kefes. It slows a little bit our DPS, but after all, who cares? DPS here is not important. The DPS is only important on the 6 fingers phase, on the rotation lightning phase, and in the final burn phase. We're about to see those in a moment, of course. As a matter of fact, I didn't have a chance to use all of my abilities, and out of those 5 points I was allowed to click, because you know there is an ongoing bug with the utility system at the moment. I picked only 5 of them, and out of those 5, 2 were the wrong ones. By wrong ones I mean the ones I wouldn't ideally pick for this fight specifically. But anyway, with or without utilities in this fight in hard mode, it shouldn't be too much of a challenge. My gear is total crap. Most of it, the armorings are all 198 from the old level 60 set from the hard modes. My mods and enhancements are pretty much in between balanced 216 and not balanced 216. It means lettered mods somewhere, and the non-lettered mods in other places. I haven't placed new augments in all of my gear. I think I've replaced 8 of my current augments. I suppose our second Sentinel died here because he jumped without a buff. If you want to pick up these spheres before they stack up to 16 or 17 stacks, you should either use a very powerful cooldown, combination of cooldowns, or just hit guarded by the force. This is what we were doing in Nightmare because DPS there did count a lot. Here DPS is not so important, and in this specific pool I didn't get a sphere on me. The last time we did 2 or 3 pulls here before the success, and we had some lag issues, someone disconnected, never mind. This is the lightning phase. Compared to nightmare mode, it's a lot easier because the lightning always goes on the right side first. In other words, it goes clockwise. I would absolutely definitely recommend you guys play Combat or Carnage for the Empire side here, because it's a burst fight. There is a lot of small targets to kill quickly in a matter of seconds, and even though the last burn phase may to some extent benefit from Watchman, it's very different Watchman spec. Now you have speed boosts integrated into your utilities, so you don't really move that much slower compared to what it was in the 2.x patch generation. That's my spot. We decided to align them according to team setup, and because I'm down in the bottom right corner of the second group, I'm taking the close right finger. By default, when you clear up your finger, because everybody is facing the melee DPS finger first, you're supposed to go clear the one for the healer. However, I clicked the wrong target and you see me going for the commando. I correct that and I wait to clear up the finger on the Sage Healer. It's a good idea to avoid the purples. They do moderate amount of damage. They are not nearly as dangerous as in Nightmare mode, but it's still a good idea to avoid them. There is no swapping here for the tentacles because they don't do knockbacks. However, you're still required to stay in melee range if you have them aggroed. Otherwise, they are just going to annihilate you in a few seconds. It doesn't matter for these last big hands of Brontes which one you'll take first, because you can take one first and then focus on the second one. However, we do what we've always done, and by we I mean not this group, but groups in general. We keep to the side that we were assigned to from the Six Fingers phase. Incoming burn phase, Brontes is being debuffed, as you have noticed, because that prevents her from raising up her HP to, what was it, 63%, and this is the burn phase. In this case, I didn't ask the guys before the run, but it became clear very quickly that they are dragging her to the red zone. To me, this is the preferred tactic. I'm glad they do that, because I'm playing combat. And because of the changes to Watchman, even if I was playing Watchman, I wouldn't be allowed to use Leap from 0 meter range. But in general, I never stay with my back against that, because every time I use Leap, it's actually bonus free rage build. In my case, it's free focus build. So I'm actually positioning myself in this manner. So when I get knocked back, I immediately leap back. In this case, I didn't leap back because there was the call in the very same moment for interrupting the hand. And with that, going to the next sub-phase of the burn phase. We took the boss down to, come on, targeted poke. I think she's on about 36-37%, which I consider to be relatively low, but keep in mind, I am playing with older gear and my DPS, as you are about to see in the end of the video, I have a couple of screenshots for you there, very low. It's still 1.6k or so higher than what I was usually doing in Nightmare mode for level 55, at least on my first kill. I think that was my average DPS, about 2.5, 2.6. You can actually check the video, I don't really remember anymore, but I doubt that it was higher than this. I wasn't going for a DPS record in this one, obviously. You saw in the first phase I was just dragging myself and dangling around, just playing around. There is no need to push DPS in the first phase, especially if you're not allowed to sit on Kefes all the time. As soon as Brontes shields up, she is now on 19% I believe, you go back on the shield. It's very important to be on the shield. Compared to Nightmare mode, this phase is a lot more easier, especially for the tanks. We don't have spheres. All you have to do now is burn quickly and avoid the purples, because they're very dangerous. It's never the best possible combination to have two healers of the same class, but our two sages did a good job. And yes, we enraged the boss at 5%, so when you see my DPS, consider it low. I don't know even if it's low, I haven't tried for a best DPS. And unfortunately here, even if I had available Guarded by the Force, I wouldn't have used it because I got stunned. And there is no chance to know who's stunning you and when. It's always random target. That's my very first, third attempt overall. but very first kill at level 65 of Brontes Hard Mode. My previous one was God knows when. Here somewhere in the video on YouTube you're about to see an annotation or a YouTube card linking you to my very first 55 level Nightmare Brontes kill with the buff on her. And keep in mind, it is also another simple guide, so I might have shared some other tricks and tips, so maybe take a look if you haven't. Since I joined the guys for the very last pull, for the very last boss, I've decided not to need on the main stuff here, and in our case it dropped an ultimate X-Arc. This is the normal 220, I don't need that. The next offhand that you're about to see in a moment was the ultimate X-Arc, which is 224. I'm going to need on the gloves because it's kind of a mediocre loot. There it is, the ultimate X-Arc is a special loot for one designated operation per week. It's a different one every week, and it drops hard mode and nightmare mode gear for easier and quicker leveling. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this not so very short but full and simple guide. If you have something to add or ask, feel free to do that down in the comments. I will do my best to answer. After all, I've killed that boss in all difficulties except for the new nightmare mode. See you next time. Bye bye.